The Turkish get-up is a complex movement, and people tend to make a couple of major mistakes for the first several years of training, and that prevents them from getting to a higher weight. The classic way for people to start kettlebell training is to do the kettlebell swing, two-hand, hand-to-hand, and single hand for 12 weights, and to do Turkish get-ups. This is a classic idea that was laid out by Pavel many years ago. The original idea was snatches and bench presses, but that tended to be too much for most people. So for the modern population, it became swings and Turkish get-ups. If you do swings, you affect your metabolism very quickly and your athleticism tends to skyrocket pretty fast because you're doing endurance hip snap. You're using the biggest muscles of your body to drive the majority of your athletic action. Kettlebell swings. And then when you do get-ups, you get a lunge pattern, you get a press pattern, you get a side bent pattern, but not as extreme as an actual bent press, and you get a loaded sit-up or a loaded get-up off of the ground. You combine all those together, you get about 8 basic core fundamental human movements in one exercise. If you learn to practice the Turkish get-up for 5 to 10 minutes nonstop, twice a week, you get a lot of health and fitness for a very small amount of time and a very small amount of economic input. Many people have trouble with this, so I designed a program years ago called Turkish Get-Up Master, where we created a 5-step program, a 5-level program with different movements to make sure that you absolutely did it right. Today, we're just going to talk about common structural mistakes that people make which prevent them from getting any benefit from the Turkish get-up. Specifically, the knee pass and the hand position. Get your kettlebell to where it needs to be, roll it along the floor. You're going to lie down. You want your kettlebell to be at about elbow height. Elbow height. You're going to turn your whole body towards the bell to put the kettlebell in front of you. Reach in, grab the bell, pull it close to your chest, roll flat to your back, change legs. We call this same side, same leg. Press up to lockout. The first thing that people tend to get wrong when they do this is they put their hand not at 45 degrees. 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, palm flat on the ground. Then they tend to move this hand around. The goal is to keep the hand in one position. Roll, roll, elbow, and your hand should be in almost the exact same spot, maybe 1% of movement. The second thing people tend to do wrong is they tend to put this knee in the wrong place. The knee should come back all the way behind the level of your hand so that when you orient upright, your lead leg is at a 90-degree angle and your rear leg is about at a 90-degree angle. Stand all the way up. Going backwards, people have the same problem. Step back. 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Touch the ground, move your hand out, palm flat on the ground, sit all the way down, elbow, shoulder, shoulder. You'll notice my hand ended up back at that 45-degree position. The hand position and the knee position are the things that people mess up in the beginning. The hand scoots around. When they get down on the ground, their elbow lockout, they tend to move this hand in order to try to make the get-up easier. They're trying to avoid using their core and rolling their spine. If your hand stays in the same spot, we are going to roll our shoulder to one side. We're going to press out of our elbow, then lift our chest, then drive up to our hand, lifting the chest. If the hand moves, we can't do that correctly. If we pull our elbow in, then we tend not to have anywhere to go. Hand position is key. 45 degrees away from your body, palm flat on the ground. Now, fight the urge to move it. If you're coaching somebody, you tend to walk up and put your hand on top of their hand because in the beginning, people are not aware that their hand is moving. They're not aware of it. The hand stays stationary. We roll up. We drive through the leg, foot pointed generally straight ahead. We lift our hip up. You will see coaching where they lift their hip really, really high. That is an excellent technique. In the beginning, I want people to think about bringing their knee to the line of their hand. Lift up. Bring your knee to the line of your hand. Then when you orient up, you will have a good 90-90 position on your legs so that you can drive all the way up. Same thing on the way down. On the way down, your step back matters. Otherwise, your knee won't be in the right place. The first thing you see people do is step back short. This heel will lift up off of the ground, and then they won't be able to get through. We need to make sure that we are stepping back all the way, really far. That is hard for people in the beginning, so that we get that lead leg at 90 degrees, so that this heel can stay on the ground. Hand finds the leg, touch, go out, palm flat on the ground. Then when we sit down and we go through, our hand ends up where it should end up. Hand position and knee position are key. This is what we would call Turkish get-up technique for intermediate weights. Once your kettlebell gets above 32K, these alignments change. Kettlebells above 32K tend to cost a lot of money. So instead of going above 32K, I tend to tell people to work on doing more breakdowns of all of these positions that we put in our master program up to 32K. You can go above 32K, kettlebells just start to get into the $400, $500 range above 32K, and they get really, really expensive to ship. If you have a competition adjustable kettlebell, you can see it's got a seam right here. It cracks apart. We can alter this by a half K or 1 pound, and we can run breakdowns of Turkish get-ups for years. Every movement that is out there can be broken down into small pieces and practiced in pieces for years. That should probably be the basis of your fitness. Movements, not just muscle patterns. You can do Turkish get-up instead of bench press. You can do Turkish get-up before bench press. You can do Turkish get-up before your dumbbell incline press. Practice a giant complete movement that is a total body push. Make sure that you can do an equal number in an equal amount of time. That means an equal speed or rate of movement on each side of your body before you do all of your other things. Getting up off the ground is a fundamental human skill, and you should be really good at it. When we're training with kettlebells, we're trading complexity for weight. Something that's a simpler movement, like a bench press, people tend to be able to move much heavier weights because they're moving just in one direction. With a Turkish get-up, because you're moving in all these different directions, think of that as a single arm press. But now, stability of the shoulder to the side, getting all the way up overhead. Here is the hard part for most people, getting through into this side press position. If you look at the founders of weightlifting, the founders of barbell, they did a lot of these side presses and bent presses from this position where they used their core to lift the weight. You should do everything in weightlifting at some point in your life because life is fairly long, but you should definitely make a study of the Turkish get-up. Focus on hand position, focus on knee position, work your way up in weight.